its historic past and its glorious future. Please.
Thank you so much for that. And very good morning from India to everyone. And to start off, my apologies, I couldn't be there in person. Unfortunately, a few prior commitments kept us here stationed in India, but looking forward to being there in person with you very soon. Now, to start off with, it's important to lay the ground that India is historically commanded some value of cannabis as a strategic asset in its backyard. But the historic cannabis opportunity that India aims to kind of bring into the foreground over the course of time is being defined, and the journey is being defined as we speak. And that's where to introduce ourselves and myself. My name is Jahan Peston Jamas. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of strategy and collaborations at Bombay Hemp Company. We were a team of 7 co-founders who began this almost 10 years ago till today, as India's first ever industrial and medical cannabis or hemp company, where we worked across multiple verticals and have actually built a conglomerate of companies and organizations across the verticals of fiber for textiles, the use of the seed in food and cosmetic products, the use of the leaf in Indian traditional medicine or Ayurvedic formulations, as well as exploring policy and regulatory and research pathways to utilizing the flower and the bud in phytopharmaceutical and pharmaceutical formulations as well. And that's where over the last 9 years, we've shaped a strategy that is multi-pronged, focused primarily around using the cannabis leaf. Similarly, in how it occurs in Thai traditional medicine, in a similar fashion, the cannabis leaf is not recognized as a narcotic, but rather as a medicinal active ingredient that can be used in such formulations. Where back in 2018-19, we were one of the first companies to be licensed to have proprietary Ayurvedic products and formulations for a range of topical as well as sublingual products. The sublingual ones being on prescription basis, working with a range of Ayurvedic or traditional medicine, as well as modern medical doctors and practitioners, as well as a range of OTC products for arthritis, pain, muscle relief, etc. That combines very aptly, I would say, and aligns almost perfectly with the secondary engine of actually using the hemp seeds. That is, and of course, all of this is native from raw material to 100% domestically sourced from India, to convert it into food-based products such as hearts, seed powders and proteins, as well as unique products like immunity booster capsules, combining the seed oil with ashwagandha, giloy, amla, and a range of other Ayurvedic herbs and ingredients. Over the last 9-10 years, we've been very fortunate enough to have a wide range of awards and recognition. We've previously been fellows at Singularity University, have been Ashoka fellows, Inc fellows, as well as been associated with the Indian Startup Growth Program right from the very early days as well. And whilst we bootstrapped ourselves as a company for the first few years, we were very fortunate and privileged enough back in 2015-16. We actually happened to receive personal investment and mentorship of some of the behemoths of Indian and global industry, the likes of Mr. Ratan Tata, who you can see in the picture here, who continues to remain chairman emeritus of the Tata Trust and the Tata Group, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. And as I mentioned earlier, our main goal has been focused around harnessing the health and wellness capabilities of full spectrum cannabis leaf extract in proprietary Ayurvedic or traditional medicine formulations. When I refer to full spectrum, I refer to THC and CBD in a 1:1 ratio, thereby actually allowing for the entourage effect to come into play, and most importantly, being able to improve quality of life for a range of chronic pain based indication areas, as well as a range of stress based disorders and sleep based disorders for consumption based sublingual drops, which are provided to patients on prescription basis. Over the last few years, we're very proud to share that we've had thousands of patients using a range of these products, right from rheumatoid arthritis to glioblastomas, testicular cancer, HIV, tuberculosis, MS, Parkinson's, as well as a host of musculoskeletal disorders, up to almost 55 different indications. Our range of patients have actually used our products and formulations for. And that's combined very well and sort of complemented very well our secondary form of strategy, as I mentioned, where over the last few years, we've advented into the direct to consumer approach when it comes to bringing such health and wellness leaf formulations as well as nutrition based, food based products into the Indian domestic market, both in a direct to consumer fashion as well as B2B, working with larger manufacturers, other organizations, pet care companies, as well as other industries to incorporate and integrate these ingredients, thereby building the larger ecosystem in a more profound manner. And while doing this, we were very fortunate enough over the last 2 years or so. We've actually been contacted and reached out to almost 5,000 doctors nationwide across India. 1,000 plus doctors of them are actually sampling and using our products and formulations on their patients. And 200 plus of them are actually prescribing actively on a day-to-day basis a range of different proprietary cannabis medicines for a whole host of patients. And while doing this, our goal has also been to build the common awareness around cannabis traditional medicines. That's where we've hosted almost 15 plus online awareness webinars conducted for almost 10,000 plus doctors all across India, from 15 plus cities and almost 8 plus states, who are actually using the product, who are learning more about cannabis based medicines, who are open to more knowledge and are more open to integrative solutions for their patients as well. And where we began was right on the west part of this map that you see in front of you, in the city of Mumbai. But over the last 10 years, we have expanded our presence all across India to almost 10 to 15 states and almost 30 plus cities, where BOHECO's products are listed in almost 100 plus stores across the country, including some of the top pharmacy and chemist chains. And there is plenty more to come because this is only phase one of how the growth expansion has happened in India. But whilst doing this, we are also fortunate enough to partner with some of the apex research institutes, in this case with Tata Memorial Hospital, to actually conduct human grade clinical observational studies, open label, and particularly in this case on stage 2 breast cancer patients, to understand the effect of a cannabis flower or the cannabis bud in a vaporized manner on the neoplasm in a peri-operative stage, building a funnel towards 6 to 7 more similar clinical studies, albeit from more domestic cannabis leaf-based materials to come in the future. This is another one of almost 6 human clinical studies. Now, BOHECO is the first and only company in India to actually conduct such studies on cannabis-based medicines. This was one of our studies at the National Institute of Ayurveda. In fact, this study is just completed. It is an open label single arm study to understand the effect of one of our formulations that contains the cannabis leaf extract with almost 8 mg, 6 to 8 mg of THC and CBD, each in a 1:1 ratio, combined with a hemp seed oil in a local application manner on arthritis, osteoarthritis, knee-based patients, where the results have been fantastic. We actually in a pre-publication stage, and in this year, we'll actually be publishing in one of the world-renowned journals on this. Similarly, we have studies on eczema, stress and anxiety, chronic non-cancer-based pain, as well as digestive health and IBS and IBD-based disorders. All of these open-label single-arm studies have either completed or are commencing this year itself. Now, to understand a bit more of India's regulatory framework, under India's Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, that's under India's Narcotic Act, it is plainly clear that the powers to actually allow cultivation of cannabis for industrial purposes, that's for the seed and fiber, or for medical purposes, that's for the bud and the leaf, are the powers of that lie in the hands of state governments. And that's when in 2015, 2016, the state of Uttarakhand became this first state to allow industrial hemp cultivation, focused on the seed and the fiber. And there are almost 5 state governments who we have been actively working with at BOHECO to actually create policies allowing for medical grade cultivation in the near foreseeable future. Of course, COVID delays kind of hamper the logistics of flow and movement of policy, but right from A to Z, we've been working with the policymakers to create the most sound integrated policy, which we anticipate will be on the floor and will be passed very soon in several states. And that's where essentially India's laws begin to stem from. Similarly, in November, December of 2021, after almost 4 years of work with our regulators, the Food Safety Standards Authority of India actually recognized hemp seed and seed products as a standard food grade ingredient with certain parameters required to be met. We are actually also in the process of receiving our food safety standards license for the same. And this, we believe, will essentially open out and carve out a huge opportunity in the health and nutrition space for hemp foods in India coming very soon as well. Now, coming to cannabis in Ayurveda, from an Ayurvedic perspective, cannabis has been recognized in a regulatory manner by the Ministry of Ayush, that is the Ministry of Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. That is a range of alternative medicines where everything from its synonyms to its description, purity and strength, properties, its therapeutic uses, and its doses are mentioned in Ayurvedic texts dating back almost 1,500 years. And that's where the cannabis leaf, interestingly enough, is classified under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of India and not under the Narcotics Act as one of the ingredients that is allowed in the Ayurvedic system of medicine, provided certain compliances, certain proof of concept, and certain safety and toxicity studies need to be conducted on any product or formulation, whether classical or proprietary, that actually uses the cannabis leaf as a key ingredient. As I mentioned, as you can see in front of you, these are small excerpts in Sanskrit about the references from the Rasa Granthas, Chikitsa Granthas, and ancient Ayurvedic texts about how bhanga or cannabis was used in a range of settings. So bhanga, ganja, matulani, madhini, vijaya, jaya, referring to the names of what cannabis is called, to the indication areas for which they were used. And that's where, interestingly enough, what we learned over the course is that where modern medicine has reached today to understand how cannabis works on pain or how cannabis works on sleep or enhances the metabolism or is good for your reproductive health. This type of knowledge was already pre-built in historically into India's ecosystem. In Ayurveda, cannabis or vijaya was known to be a sleep-inducing agent or nidrakara. It is also known to be shulhara, meaning analgesic, or it enhanced the appetite, where it is referred to as deepana. And what is very interesting is that back in history, the earliest methods to purify cannabis recorded in Ayurveda, and that is when I refer to the cannabis leaf, was something called Shodha Karma or through the Dola Yantra. Basically, the leaf was boiled with milk for 3 hours in a little clay earthen pot, and then it was washed and dried and roasted in clarified butter extracted from a cow and then used for therapeutic purposes. And today, now we've modernized that, taking into modernized forms, modernized sort of extraction methods and technologies, and be able to combine this with what ancient knowledge had provided us as well. And of course, this isn't the end mile. This is actually the beginning of the story of where Vijaya, cannabis, and Ayurveda first set out. See, one thing important to understand is that Vijaya leaf or cannabis leaf has been mentioned in almost 41 Rasa Granthas, that's text related to Indian alchemy, and 26 Chikitsa Granthas, that's historic text related to treatment protocols, where there were classical formulations like Lakshmi Vilasa Rasam, Raja Rasa Rasa, Bilwadi Churan, Sarpagan, Ganvati, and Amruta Vatika, which combine cannabis leaf with almost 7 to 10 other Ayurvedic herbal plant-based ingredients. Over the course of time, we've modernized this, and whilst doing so, a lot of governmental institutes have actually had commenced clinical research. As you can see, there are papers written by some of the top Ayurvedic researchers and doctors in the country, right from managing chronic pain using the cannabis leaf in its raw form in cancer patients, to understanding a literature review on as well as a clinical review on the therapeutic importance of it across Ayurvedic texts. And that really ties in well into how policies have developed and evolved over the course of the last 9 to 10 years, where we worked with almost 8 to 9 state governments, almost every state government you see here, where industrial hemp cultivation has been permitted in several states. Some states are exploring it. Some states are in the early days of doing an academic studies on it. Similarly, for medical cannabis cultivation with no THC limits for flower and leaf, there are states at sort of the end mile of policy formulation and execution, that are sort of awaiting the final signatures to go ahead and begin executing for the benefit of farmers and rural Indian stakeholders along with Indian industry as well. One of our advantages at BOHECO is that over the last 9 years, through our research programs and some of our research licenses, we were and continue to remain the foremost organization that's been cultivating high quality cannabis and hemp across 3 states in India. As you can see, these are from all our live batch sites. Most of these batch sites are research focused around actually breeding different cultivars and land races to be able to be agronomically scaled at the back end through cultivation in the process. Even in states like Jammu and Kashmir, some of our partners include the Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, which is the CSIR institute under the Indian Ministry of Science and Technology. Here you see pictures of its inauguration, and this is some pictures of the cultivations, indoor medical grade research cultivations, as part of some of our early day projects that we had undertaken with the scientists at the institutes. Some of our big ticket research programs under large state of Uttar Pradesh, very well recognized state of Uttar Pradesh, where we received research licenses a few years ago to actually commence cultivation on research scale to breed land races from almost 200 different varieties, I would say, and wild land races or natural growing land races that were selected from across India by our scientists as well as with the Indian government scientists in tandem, with the goal to actually optimize on THC percentages, on fiber yields, seed yields, flower yields, and leaf yields in due course. We're at the end stage of finalizing on the top 5 to 10 varieties that will go now for multi-location trials, and then will be available in a much more larger commercially scalable and accessible manner in the future. Here are some historic pictures, in fact, of some of my co-founders meeting with the then Chief Minister of the state of Uttarakhand before finalizing and beginning work on the industrial hemp cultivation policy. Here is sort of a copy of the policy that is also online and publicly available that states how the license holder requires to maintain the relevant documentation and compliance to receive a license for cultivation. And most importantly, I think one of the biggest hurdles has been the 0.3% THC seed, majorly because indigenously varieties in India are not 0.3%. They are of a few decimal points higher, all the way up to 1%, which is where we're working on the regulators to be able to modify and repurpose such policies to be able to increase farm holding cultivation as well as industry participation. These are brief photos of some of our early day projects, research cultivation projects in the state of Uttarakhand. As you can see, this is day 0 to about day 28. And the latest endeavors over the last few years is we've been working with the state of Himachal Pradesh. Here is our team with the then governor of Himachal Pradesh, as well as the now Chief Minister and the current Chief Minister, Jairam Thakurji, on actually formulating a range of different policies for allowing medical cultivation in the state. Similar discussions in Maharashtra and Manipur with the top officers and the top ministers have led to very fruitful outcomes as well. Just to wind in at the latter half, when we first began, we were the only company in the medical cannabis and hemp space in India. Very proud to share that from there to now, it's been a whirlwind of a journey with almost 60 plus companies. I believe it's 75 since I made this presentation, that have occupied different spaces, different parts of the value chain, and are providing tremendous value addition in the hemp and cannabis ecosystem, thereby building the entire market share in its entirety. And that's why BOHECO, having been the first, having built the largest vertical integration, continues to remain the #1 cannabis health and wellness brand in India, working and collaborating closely with a wide range of our peers in the industry with the goal to enhance and grow the larger value of the industry in the due course of time. And that's why India really stands at a historic pathway to be able to establish itself right from the 2020 December vote at the CND all the way into the distant future as a true strategic kingmaker, just like how Thailand is for the global cannabis, medical cannabis, as well as industrial hemp policy and regulatory developments, research developments, and the commercialization of sustainable industries. On that note, I thank you so much for your time. Very glad to have any questions. Happy to connect with you online as well as offline. Thanks so much for your time and patience, and hope you have a great rest of the conference ahead. Thank you so much, everyone.
So thank you for our guest speaker, Mr. Jahan Peston Jamas, co-founder and director, Bombay Hemp Company, India.